Okay. So moving on here, we got Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, telling a Russian reporter, "I do not support what your country has done to Ukraine." Now, this is interesting given the far right MAGA wing of the party, including members like Boebert, Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz. There's others. They're slipping my mind at the moment. But you guys know the far right MAGA wing. They constantly talk about how we can't be giving these handouts to Ukraine. Like, we got to worry about our own people at home. People in America are going hungry. People in America need those billions of dollars, not Ukraine. Totally failing to realize that the Ukrainians and their courage fighting Russia is keeping a wider conflict in which could hurt America far worse economically than the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine. That us funding Ukraine is keeping the conflict contained to Ukraine. And it's not spilling over into other Baltic states in Europe and perhaps embolden Putin to attack a NATO country, triggering an Article 5 response from NATO. That's not what anybody wants. But McCarthy here, he is not in agreement with his own party, members of his own party, at least. So it says McCarthy shot down a Russian reporter's suggestion that he does not support aid to Ukraine, pledging continued U.S. support for the country and calling on Russia to pull its troops from Ukraine. No, I vote for aid for Ukraine. I support aid for Ukraine. I do not support what your country has done to Ukraine. I do not support your killing of the children either, McCarthy said at a news conference in Israel on Monday. I mean, man. For a guy like Kevin McCarthy, who's just kind of on all ways that we could define him, kind of a weasel. It kind of seems like that guy in high school. This is what Kevin McCarthy reminds me of. He reminds me of that guy in high school that is willing to like say that they're friends or that they don't like a certain group of people around a group to gain their favor, to gain their liking, and then go to the other group of people that he was just disparaging and tell that group of people that, oh no, it's the other group of people that he was originally with, that they're the losers. You know what I mean? He just doesn't have any like principles or anything that he like really truly deep down believes in. This is actually, I'll give Kevin McCarthy credit where it's due. I don't hand out very much credit to any Republicans, but I credit McCarthy. It's a forceful statement of support for Ukraine. For him to say, I do not support what you guys are doing to Ukraine directly in that sort of way. Well, there's not much of a way for the Kremlin to spin this. If he had said, oh, I don't support what you guys are doing to the country, but I don't know about if we should be giving Ukraine all this money or something. No, he said, I vote for aid. I support Ukraine. Just in stark contrast to the MAGA wing of his own party, which he needed their votes to become speaker in the first place. I think for one standpoint, you should pull out. I don't think it's right. And we will continue to support because the rest of the world sees it just as it is. The Russian reporter had said that he knows Kevin McCarthy does not support the current unlimited and uncontrolled supplies of weaponry and aid to Ukraine, asking if it was possible that U.S. policy on sending aid to Ukraine could change in the near future. It was an apparent reference to McCarthy saying last year that there would be no blank check to Ukraine in a House GOP majority, while not ruling out any future support for Ukraine. McCarthy defended his statement at the time. I think Ukraine is very important. I support making sure that we move forward to defeat Russia in that program, but there should be no blank check on anything. We are $31 trillion in debt. A minority of Republicans in the narrow majority who are resistant to U.S. foreign intervention have been critical of sending additional aid to Ukraine. Even among the Republicans who support continued military assistance, some have questioned non-military economic aid. So this is interesting. Just not too long ago, we got McCarthy kind of saying, but there should be no blank check on anything. There should be no blank check. So that's what this Russian reporter was basing his original assumption that McCarthy was not supportive of continued funding of Ukraine on, right? Because that's got to be what he was going off of, because McCarthy's never really said anything other than that in terms of, oh, we're not going to fund Ukraine. But now he's saying, no, I vote for aid for Ukraine. So I think we might be seeing perhaps the political calculations of this continued support of Ukraine changing in McCarthy's mind somewhat, to the point that he thinks that, no, he does need to say that he is going to continue to vote for aid for Ukraine, whether or not it's he could just be saying that it's not going to be a blank check to kind of convince the people in his own party, the voters in his own party, that maybe there is something to not funding as much, but at the same time, he's saying he is going to continue to vote for aid for Ukraine. So I'm not sure what that means to, we're not going to write them a blank check, but I do support them. It seems like there's a little bit of contradiction going on here. And I think that that's basically what it points to, is a change in the political calculus of the support of Ukraine. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the far-right MAGA wing is going to be willing to withhold their votes on certain House bills that are passed, or not passed, but bills that are brought to the floor, if the Republicans are going to be willing to withhold their votes based on funding for the Ukraine invasion, even when most in their own party do see the value of continuing to support Ukraine. So just another interesting example of the dysfunction and the not on the same team sort of aspect that we're seeing within the modern GOP, and how these guys are willing to eat each other up real quick if it means any sort of political gain for themselves. Whereas it's in stark contrast to the Democratic Party, who is steadfastly 100% supportive of continuing to fund Ukraine. You don't have any Democrats saying that it's not a good idea to continue to fund Ukraine. So just an interesting little contrast there.